wild pitch. Well, we're back again. We welcome you to Great American Ballpark in downtown Cincinnati. It's game 2 of this day-night doubleheader. The Reds winning on a wild pitch in the bottom of the 9th inning in game 1. And they'll try and make it a doubleheader sweep, taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates. And hi again, everybody, alongside Chris Welsh, Tom Brenneman, back at the ballpark. And welcome to Reds baseball, trying to make it 2 in a row. And our first look since mid-August at the talented young right-hander Johnny Cueto. Chris, they shut him down for a couple of weeks, and he's back tonight.
Well, he's had a fatigued arm. They said a sore shoulder, but really, they just wanted to back him off for a couple of weeks because they thought he had too much throwing. I mean, after all, he's been pitching year-round when you include spring training, the World Baseball Classic, winter ball, last year, his first year in the major leagues. Sometimes that can add up, and it can be too much. So they backed him off. I expect him to come out tonight and have a nice game. He better, because he's facing a real fine left-hander in Paul Maholm, who has put together 2 very good back-to-back games against good offensive teams. Against the Reds, you see his numbers with a 3.8 earned run average, a left-hander that sinks the ball, change-ups, lots of stuff like that. He's a lot to handle, Maholm is.
Well, we'll see if Johnny Cueto is up to the task. When we come back, we'll talk about Drew Stubbs. He made an impact in game 1. crowd still rolling in on just another picture-perfect night for baseball in downtown Cincinnati. And in the lineup in Game 1, in fact, became the first Red this season to lead off with a game with a home run.
Right.
He had 2 hits in the game. Drew Stubbs.
He put a pretty big swing on that one. Drew Stubbs did. He hit another home run earlier in his career here just about a week or so ago, where it was a game winner. A couple of hits on the day. You see, for the last 5 games, Drew Stubbs beginning to get it a little bit. He has a few stolen bases. He's a guy that can run. He can play defense. And I think that he's going to adjust eventually to become a decent major league hitter. That's what he's trying to do this year, is to try to establish himself as a guy that is going to be in the contention for playing center field on an everyday basis next year. That's after Willie Taveras comes back. That's after Chris Dickerson comes back. Drew Stubbs wants to be the guy that Dusty Baker goes to.
When we come back, the first pitch, Johnny Cueto and the Reds trying to make it back-to-back wins on this Monday, the final day of August. By State Farm, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. By Dodge, the Dodge summer clearance is here. Get to your Dodge dealer for some great deals. By Just for Men, stay in the game with Just for Men hair color. And by Skyline Chili. You know it's Skyline time when you get that craving for a Skyline 3-way or cheese conies. A beautiful weekend we had, carrying right into the start of this week. 70 degrees. Under bright sunshine, only an isolated cloud or two. Well, because of all the extra inning games and all the use of the bullpen the Reds have had recently, a number of changes in between games. We knew Johnny Cueto was coming back off the disabled list. Ramon Ramirez also comes off the DL. And Kevin Barker is brought back. Lance Nix with a bulging disc goes on the DL. Carlos Fisher will go down to the minors. So too will Matt Maloney. And we'll see both of them after the first week of September to rejoin the team. Right, for Johnny Cueto, the lineup he faces tonight for the Pirates, brought to you by U.S. Bank. Andrew McCutchen leads off in center field, having a great August. Delwyn Young at second, Garrett Jones in right field. Ryan Domit behind the plate. Steve Pearce is at first with Brandon Moss in left. A ladder third of Ronnie Cedeno, Ramon Vasquez, and Paul Mahala. Johnny Cueto 8-10, making his 25th start, his first in over 2 weeks.
Kind of started so much better for Johnny Cueto in the beginning of the year, though lately he has not pitched all that well. He's lost his last 6 decisions. The Reds are 1-7 in his last 8 starts going back to the second week in July. And Johnny Cueto, that's one reason why he got put on the disabled list, because he just thought that, he kept trying hard. He wanted the ball, and the more he tried to throw hard, the more his mechanics would go away from him. And hopefully he's been able to relax his arm, get himself a little bit of strength, get back in a little bit of groove with some side work with Dick Pohl, and we'll see the old Johnny Cueto out there this evening. Well, there's a line that Johnny Cueto draws in the sand, but what he wants to do is make sure that that line goes right towards home plate. If you extend this line all the way down, you're going to cut the home plate right in half. And when that happens, Johnny Cueto is in line with his left foot. His body stays in line, and it helps him find a strike zone.
So ball 1 to Andrew McCutchen. And this game is underway. A little bit low, 2 balls and no strikes. McCutchen at 289, 10 home runs and 43 runs batted in. All right, Chris, if there's anything tonight, you and Jeff Brantley talked a lot about keeping an eye on Cueto's mechanics. Is there anything you're looking for early here that tells you, okay, this is better, or he should be better if?
I want him to make sure that first of all, he's going to follow that line. He wants to make sure that he steps in line towards home plate and he lands with a good solid footing. When he really wants to throw hard, he'll spin off towards first base, which isn't all that bad, as Jeff pointed out, as long as you release the ball first.
Playable and foul ground for Corky Miller, and Cueto takes care of McCutchen.
So we'll take a look at where his foot lands on that line. You see the line coming straight down there. It ought to land right in that line to make sure that he is in alignment towards home plate and land firm. And he does that right there. If you can see, and after he releases the ball, then he's going to torque out and get on the side of his foot. That's very normal. So far, so good for Cueto. The other thing, and I think this is very important, watch to make sure that his head and his arm at the point of release stay close to each other. When his arm starts dropping down and he pulls his head off towards first base, that's a sign of a pitcher trying to rush it up there too much. Young pitchers do this all the time. They just try to overthrow, and first thing you know that their front side is flying open, and they can never really throw any pitches for strikes. So Johnny Cueto, so far so good.
0-2 on Delman Young, a .292 batter with 6 home runs and 38 runs batted in. Swing and a miss, struck him out on the high heat. Let's take a look at the Reds defensively, presented by Ford. Again, it'll be Stubbs in center. Darnell McDonald, one of the heroes in game 1, starts in left. Johnny Gomes in right. Along the infield, Roland, Yanish, Phillips, and Votto. And a battery of Johnny Cueto and Corky Miller. Well, you suspected Scott Rowland would be in there back-to-back games.
And you suspected Joey Votto would be there back-to-back games. Those are easy bets.
Well, Votto is such a younger man, but a guy like Rowland, he just loves to play the game. Wants to be out there every day. 0-1 to Garrett Jones. And it's taken outside.
Is that a nice way of calling him old?
He's an older guy. Saw him in between games and walking around in his gym shorts, his socks, and a t-shirt. He said a veteran move right now would be to take it easy for a while. But I don't have time for that. Got to get ready.
I like that. You lead by example.
Oh, yeah.
And he's not really a rah-rah guy. But just the way he gets ready, the way he takes infield, the way he comes out ready, dressed ready to play. That's the whole idea. The other guys see him, that's the way you prepare.
And really that's what got him in, I'm not going to say on the bad side of Tony La Russa, but let's face it, their relationship pretty much went south the final year he was there. Rowland was playing with a bad shoulder and did not tell anybody about it. There's a liner into right field that'll fall for a base hit. Gomes will play it off the wall. And Jones into second base with a 2-out double.
Well, he's got some bat speed. Garrett Jones does. We talked about him in the first game. A young man that was picked up as a minor league free agent. Here he is batting third in the lineup, and he's had a pretty good go of it. Quick bat and plenty of power in that swing. If you ever come around early to the ballpark and watch him hit batting practice, man, he launches. And he picks on a fastball that's hittable by Cueto and puts himself in scoring position.
So now Ryan Doman, who did not get the start behind the plate in game one. His replacement had a nice game. Jason Jaramillo, 2 hits and 4 at bats and knocked in both or 2 of the 3 Pirate runs. Jan shot foul ball out of play, and Johnny Cueto ahead at no balls and 2 strikes.
Oh, and Johnny's at his best, and we made this remark the other night when Homer Bailey was pitching. I mean, because they both pitch very similar styles. When he's at his best, he's able to throw that fastball inside to left-handers, outside to right-handers. That's the first base side of home plate. And that's a tough pitch for most right-handers to get to consistently. But when he's able to do that, it means he's got good extension, and you can jam and take a lot of power away from lefties.
Struck him out on a good off-speed pitch in out of the inning. So a pretty sharp opening frame for Cueto. A hit allowed. He struck out 2. Reds coming to bat against Paul Maholm. Brought to you by U.S. Bank under manager Dusty Baker. Bruce Stubbs in center, Paul Giannis at short, Joey Votto is at first. Brandon Phillips, a second baseman, bats cleanup. Excellent numbers against the Pirates this year. Rowland at third, Gomes in right. McDonald in left, Corky Miller catching, Johnny Cueto. 7 and 7 left-hander Paul Maholm makes his 27th start.
And even 7 up and 7 down for Paul Maholm. Last year he was 9 up and 9 down, so he's been pretty consistent. 5 games under 500 in his 5-year major league career so far. Left-hander from Mississippi State. That sounds familiar. That's of course the alma mater of our good friend Jeff Bradley, who has worked with Paul Maholm in the offseason.
Foul ball. Well, leading off game 1, Stubbs did something that hadn't been done by a Red since September of last year, and that's lead off the game with a home run. In the hole and into left field, a base hit. So Stubbs 2 hits and 4 at bats in the opener. Scored a couple of runs, knocked in a run, stole a base. And he's aboard to begin the bottom of the first inning in game 2. The Pirates on defense presented by Ford. Moss, McCutchen, Jones in the outfield. Vasquez has started third against Cedeno and Young up the middle. Pierce over at first. And a battery of Maholm and Doman. Now a little harder to do with a left-hander on the mound. But Stubbs, who stole 46 bases at AAA this year, is already a perfect 3 for 3 since being brought up to the major leagues.
Well, you'd like to be able to push the running game a little bit because Mahalam is a very much a prolific ground ball pitcher. He throws up a lot of double plays, 24 of them on the season. Now, you don't want to run yourself out of an inning, but still in all, he's picked off one. He's caught 3 with a pitcher caught stealing. That's when you throw over to first base and you get the guy running. But he has given up 12 stolen bases. And he's looking for a ground ball with a little changeup or sinking action right there. Usually when Mahalam misses, it's down around the dirt. Well, that's a ratio right there of a 1.9. Almost 2 ground balls for every fly ball.
Broken bat roller foul. It remains 1-2. And
well, thank goodness
everybody's all right.
Went into the stands and bounced straight back. It looked like it hit an empty seat. It's on its way. That bad bee is on its way to the lamp factory.
One and 2 to Giannis. Stubbs aboard with a leadoff single, and Mahalam will keep an eye on it. Had a dance out of the way of that pitch down and in. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Giannis.
Yeah,
just underway in game 2 of this doubleheader.
You know, usually when a pitcher like Mahalam, a left-handed pitcher with not a lot of fastball, comes inside like that, it's all for show. You're trying to get the hitter off the inside part of the zone and then to get him out, down and away.
Again in the air, foul territory, and again out of play. You know, really, for the final month of the year, you hate to put it this way, but really for Dusty Baker and the entire Reds organization, you're getting a free month to do some things that maybe you haven't done, and especially do some things that you haven't had the chance to do with a number of players on the team. Perfect example is, say, hitting and running, as that one is pulled foul. And to find out before you get into the regular season next year, or for that matter spring training next year, use an example of a combination right now, runner and hitter. Is Paul Giannis the kind of guy down the road that you can trust to use on a hit and run? Now, I'm not saying you give away games and you give away outs, but it is a free month to do some of those things with some of these players that you're really getting a look at day in and day out for the very first time.
Oh, look at Charlie Manuel said about his call-ups that are going to happen in Philadelphia. He's already made the point to say, you know what, if we call anybody up, don't expect to play. You're going to sit on the bench. We've got our starting lineup. We've got our reserves. We're going to get tuned up for the postseason.
That one hit down the left field line with Stubbs on the run on a 3-2 pitch. It's into the corner, and this will bring in the game's first run. Stubbs, who can fly, scores on a double by Giannis, and the Reds in front 1-0.
Well, nice job by Paul Giannis when he picks up his 10th double of the year and he hits it down the left field line. That ball coming inside again is Paul Mahalam, and he decides to try to jam Paul Giannis. That doesn't work as he got unjammed. And boy, you watch Drew Stubbs run. He's going to read it first to make sure the left fielder doesn't get it. Then he turns it on. Smooth strides. He can absolutely eat up some real estate now. And he has a kind of running gait that he really doesn't look like he's running that hard.
Now Joey Votto, a .338 batter with runners in scoring position. That's 30 points better than his overall season average. Not going to get a hit here, but he will advance a runner on to third. 1 out in the inning. Obviously, he wanted to do more than that, but a productive out nonetheless from Votto.
He did, Tom, but I think especially with no count on him. I mean, to make an out on a first pitch breaking ball like that on a check swing, you know, Joey's not seeing the ball right. He went 0 for 5 yesterday, didn't pick up any hits in the first game today. He did have a nice game a few games ago in Milwaukee when he picked up 3 hits, including an opposite field home run. But it just doesn't look like he's seeing the ball real well, you know, over the last week or so.
Now Brandon Phillips with a runner at third. They're going to bring the infield in here in the first inning, already trailing 1-0. Fouled out of play. Phillips in his pursuit to get as many RBIs as he possibly can. He's 21 away from the magic number of 100. Has really left a lot of RBI chances on the table over about the last week to 10 days. It's not a bad number by Phillips. He's still trying to make it a little bit better. And he's quickly behind here at 0-2.
Boy, Paul Maholm not afraid of coming inside of those right-handers.
One and two on Brandon. Vasquez, Cedeno, Young, and Pierce, third, short, second, and first, all drawn in. Well, Giannis at third and 1 out, and the Reds already leading by a run here in the opening frame. 2-2.
Now the Reds have their best hitter, at least in a personal matchup against Paul Maholm at the plate right now, in Brandon Phillips. A .355 hitter. He's reaching for 3 home runs and 7 runs batted in.
And that's a base hit to knock in a run. Number 80 of the year for Brandon Phillips, and it's 2-0 Reds.
Ball hit very sharply, and for a ground ball pitcher, Paul Maholm getting the ball up, and Brandon Phillips a wicked line drive of a ground ball right by the third baseman, or right by the shortstop. Two-hopper right there hit so sharply that Ronnie Cedeno couldn't flag it down, and Reds run number 2.
Now Scott Rowland playing in his 13th game since coming over from Toronto. Of course, he missed a couple of weeks on the disabled list after he was hit in the head by Jason Marquis. A home run, 6 runs batted in after hitting .320 for Toronto this season with 29 doubles and 43 runs batted in. 1-1.
You know, you mentioned that beanball incident by Jason Marquis. I say beanball, it was an accident, but I read recently where next year, starting in 2010, all major leaguers will be wearing a different helmet, a Rawlings S100 helmet, which has been proven to protect a hitter against a 100-mile-an-hour fastball.
Softly hit ball, and it flattened out on Cedeno. Tried to backhand it. It's into left field, and that'll be a base hit for Rowland.
Well, it's all rolling just the right way right now for Scott Rowland and the Reds. They're finding the holes. They're hitting the ball hard, just eluding the infielder right there. That ball really could have been blocked at least by Ronnie Cedeno. If he moves his feet one more step and gets in front of that ball, at least he's going to get a man at second base. But no going right there. Rowland picks up a base knock, and the Reds keep it going.
Now Johnny Gomes, he too, like Votto and like Rowland and Stubbs, starting back-to-back games in this doubleheader. Johnny went 0 for 4 in game 1, struck out 3 times. Phillips taking a huge lead out there at second base. He has 21 steals and has only been thrown out 9 times. In fact, he is the first Reds player with 4 consecutive years of 20 or more stolen bases since Reggie Sanders back in the early and mid 90s. Well, did somebody tell me that Reggie Sanders is now doing a little TV workout in Arizona?
Wouldn't be surprised.
Pre-game and post-game stuff with the Diamondbacks. Moved out there a number of years ago, Reggie and his family. That one grounded foul. A lot of former Reds doing a lot of television work. I know Dip Roberts is doing work in the Bay Area when the A's are at home. He'll do a lot of their pre-game and post-game stuff. And then when they leave town and the Giants are at home, he'll do the same thing on the other side of the bay. First, we know about Joe Morgan
and Barry Larkin and Sean Casey and the MLB Network.
Rob Dibble with the Washington Nationals. That one taken up and away. 3 balls and a strike. Who am I forgetting?
Ray Knight.
Somebody.
Ray Knight also doing it with the Washington
Nationals.
I didn't know that. Yeah,
okay.
Pre-game and post-game.
Of course, a former TV personality in Cincinnati, Bill Brown, broadcasts the Houston Astros games. Goes on and on and on. 3-1 to Johnny Gomes. Fly ball into right field. This might drop. It will fair. And into the stands for a ground rule double. So Phillips will score. They'll make Roland stop at third. Gomes with his 41st run batted in, and the Reds have scored 3 times here in the opening inning.
They're getting about every good break you can get in this inning, and it's about time, because there was a stretch there where the Reds got all of the bad breaks. This would go foul when you're going bad. It goes fair when you're going good. Brandon Phillips will come around to score on that because it went out of play. Scott Rowland will have to be sent back to third base, and Johnny Gomes will cruise into second.
You know, one other former Red in TV I forgot. Paul O'Neill.
Oh, yeah.
With the New York Yankees, even though he still lives here in town.
I guess Pat Talbot, not a former Red, but he's a Cincinnati guy doing, of course, TV for the Toronto Blue Jays.
Yep. And still lives here. Went to McNicholas High School.
Mm-hmm.
Man. And then there's Chris Welsh.
Never heard of him.
St. X guy. Kentucky guy now.
Your partner on occasion for the next couple of nights.
For the final times this year. We just found out in between games.
I'm soaking up every moment.
Me too, buddy. No doubt about it. Here's Darnell McDonald. Swing and a missed strike 1. If you'd answer your phone every now and again when I call you, then maybe we could stay in touch.
Just don't call me during a broadcast anymore.
Would never do it. 0-1 to Darnell McDonald. Reds trying to add to this 3-0 lead, and it's fouled away. You know, we were talking about McDonald and how he got off to the rough start. You know the story on Darnell McDonald, a #1 pick by the Baltimore Orioles, and has been playing professionally since 1999, and up until this year had played in a total of 21 games in the major leagues. 17 of them came 5 years ago. Was sent back down to AAA Louisville, so he's gone on strikes for the 2nd out of the inning. But he went down there and didn't hang his head, Chris. I mean, he kept doing what he's been doing for the better part of a decade plus, and that's grinded out and put together a nice year for Louisville. And since coming back, he has had a direct impact on 3 or 4 Reds wins.
He absolutely has. He was responsible in a big way for a couple of wins the Reds had in Milwaukee when they were there. He had a home run yesterday off of Clayton Kershaw, the only offense the Reds could muster. And, you know, there's a saying in the minor leagues, after you ride a long bus ride, you get off there at 4 in the morning and check into a Motel 6, and you got to love it. And that's exactly where Darnell is. I mean, he goes back to the minor leagues because you love it. And you hope you get on a team where the playing atmosphere is good and the guys are good and you like being there. That certainly is the case down in AAA with Rick Sweet and the Louisville Bats. And Darnell loves it.
And you know what? He's an easy guy to root for. He's a very pleasant young man. And I mean, those are the real life stories about a baseball player. A lot of people don't connect real life with Major League Baseball players. But I mean, here's a guy. Already has a child, he and his wife. They have another one on the way in February. I mean, every at bat for this guy right now is hoping to try and be with a big league club looking ahead to 2010.
And a lot of times for a guy like Darnell, it's, you know, being at the right place at the right time, which he was in spring training camp with the Reds, and being able to seize that opportunity. And he had a great spring training down in March in Sarasota. And that's one reason why he was on that opening day roster.
Well, we wish him well.
We certainly do.
1-2 to Miller. Breaking ball. Nice play there by Doman. That could have easily been another Reds run.
Well, it was a wild pitch that got away from Jaramillo in the first ball game that allowed the Reds to score a run. They would have scored another run right there had Ryan Doman not been able to block it.
Two and two on Miller. Fastball away. 34 pitches so far in the opening inning for Mahalam.
Or you'd love to see it too as an opposing team to work that pitcher in the first inning. You're taking at least one inning away from him as far as at the end of the ball game right now. He's just trying to get out of this inning with no more damage. And it could be a big number if they could, Corky could plate these two.
Check swing. Did he go around? No. And that is ball 4. So the 9th man to bat in this opening inning will be Johnny Cueto. John Russell, the Pirate skipper, I'm sure that's not the first time he's been shaking his head.
Well, if you've been following the Pirates for 17 years, you've been shaking your head a lot.
But I know you have a lot of faith in a guy like Joe Kerrigan to get some of these Pirate pitchers straightened out. In there, strike to Johnny Cueto. You and Joe Kerrigan, if you weren't with us earlier, you guys go way back.
Well, he's had a pretty good run of it here in a very short period of time he's been with the Pirates. I first ran into Joe when he was a bullpen catcher for the Montreal Expos in the early 80s.
But you have always spoken so highly of the job that he does as a pitching coach.
Well, you know, sometimes guys will rub you the wrong way, and he's rubbed some people the wrong way along the way. But there's no denying what he's done here with this staff. He's got a young staff, but he's got some talented arms. Look at the job that Daniel McCutcheon did in his major league debut today.
One and two to Johnny Cueto. Bases loaded, 2 away. And a breaking ball misses low and in. Well, if you're Cueto here, I mean, don't you just guess fastball and don't get beat on it? Take the best cut you got.
Absolutely. You shorten up, you just try to make contact, and you punch it into play. You hope it falls in.
Well, he'll continue his at bat. He was walking to the dugout thinking that was strike 3 call.
Or did he think it was ball 4? I think he thought it was strike 3. You're right. He's thinking to himself. And maybe even mentioning to Rick Reed, gee, I'd like to have that pitch called for a strike. He needs acting lessons.
Well, now is when you step up there and take a whack at a fastball. There you go. That's the kind of cut you want. If you're a pitcher on a 2-2 count with the bases loaded or a 3-2 count with the bases loaded, you're getting the heat. "41 pitches for Mahalam, and still the first inning is not over."
Well, nobody up and throwing in the bullpen, but then Paul Mahalam knows this is the guy he really needs to get right here.
Swing and a miss, and the inning is over. But the Reds play 3 on 5 base hits and lead as we go to the second, 3-0. First time since August the 15th. Chris, it's been a very rough second half. I mean, this guy was among the best pitchers in all of baseball through the first 3 months of the year.
But his second half numbers have really gone around the drain. I mean, he was circling it big time. His last start before he was put on the disabled list against the Washington Nationals, 2.2 innings, 8 hits, 7 runs. In the second half, he's also given up 5 runs in a game, 6 runs in a game, 4 runs twice. And I guess the worst one of all, of course, is that 22-1 lashing the Philadelphia Phillies gave the Reds, where he gave up 9 runs in 2/3 of an inning. And he really turned himself into a thrower. It seemed like the worse that Johnny Cueto would pitch, the more he reared back and tried to throw hard instead of trying to throw smart. Nothing big league hitters like more than that.
1-1 to Steve Pearce, starting the second game of this twin bill at first base. It'll be followed by Brandon Monson and Ronnie Cedeno. The natural question, and it is a legitimate question, is why bring Cueto back at all for this season? Talking about a young man who pitched his first full year in the major leagues last year. That one is pulled down the left field line, and that is a foul ball. He pitched winter ball. Not very much, but pitched winter ball nonetheless. He pitched in the World Baseball Classic.
Not very much.
Not very much, but nonetheless. He did start a game for his homeland, the Dominican Republic. In fact, he got their only win in the World Baseball Classic. But there was training involved leading up to that.
Which you would have been in spring training anyway.
And then, of course, he has thrown before tonight. 136 innings. As there is strike 3 called to Steve Pearce. So the natural inclination is to ask the question, why bring him back at all at his age and take the chance that if he had anything wrong with him before August the 15th, I mean, anything wrong at all physically, what's the plus side of bringing him back?
Well, if he had anything wrong with him, they wouldn't be bringing him back. And I think, you know, Johnny Cueto was not happy when he was told he was going on the disabled list. You know, we heard all sorts of different things initially. He's got arm fatigue. He's got a dead arm. Then it came on as officially shoulder stiffness and soreness and so on. But the bottom line is that they just wanted to back Johnny Cueto off, and they couldn't go on a roster and just have him active and play with a player or two short. And I don't think that 136 innings on top of winter ball and on top of World Baseball Classic is going to endanger this guy at all. I mean, he's been throwing innings all year round his entire life. And I more subscribe to the theory that your arm is going to rust off before it wears off. And you keep using it. But you use it under control. You throw within yourself. You don't try to throw harder than you're able to throw. And I think that's the key. He got to a point here in the second half of the year when he was giving up those big numbers in every game he goes out that he was trying to throw harder and harder and harder. And that's when the injuries occurred. Tonight, he's staying within himself a little bit more. His last two strikeouts, you saw one of Steve Pearce looking and Ryan Domitz swinging, came on changeups. So it's all about having Johnny Cueto take this last month of the season and help him learn how to pitch. And that's the next step for Cueto to become a great pitcher. I mean, the same way that Homer Bailey has begun to make that transition from being a thrower to a pitcher. His last few starts have shown that. And I think that Johnny Cueto can keep pace. They need this guy healthy in the rotation next year, and they need him to give the Reds a full year. And I think he can do that.
There's ball four. First walk of the night issued by Cueto. But I think you understand, though, and I'm trying to come at it from where the Reds fan would look at it here. They're going to say, wait a minute now. Didn't Edinson Volquez pitch his first full year in the big leagues last year? Didn't Edinson Volquez pitch winter ball? Didn't Edinson Volquez pitch in the WBC? And then he obviously broke down this year. I am not suggesting that these are the same guy. We know they're not. But it is a legitimate question to ask that very question. Why take the chance?
Yeah, well, if he's not hurt, is he going to get any better in the dugout or in the bullpen? Throwing side sessions between that. I mean, is he going to learn how to get big league hitters out by watching TV or watching from the dugout? No. I mean, if he's not hurt, he's being paid to pitch. He wants to pitch. You want him to get better. He must get better for this team to get better.
There's no debate about that. I mean, the Reds aren't going anywhere if Johnny Cueto is not on top of his game to start his third full year in the major leagues come 2010.
And I think they've got a program for him. I mean, that they're trying to teach him. And I think the last couple of weeks has enabled Dick Pohl to work with him more than just for 15 minutes on the side between starts to try to get some things ironed out. And it doesn't all come at one time.
Two and two on Ronnie Cedeno.
I mean, if there was a way to pinpoint the reason why guys blow their elbows out and need Tommy John surgery, they would fix it.
Oh, yeah. Boy, that's an unhittable pitch right there. And that is strikeout number 4 in the game for Cueto. 4 of the 5 outs he's recorded via the strikeout.
Well, he's had a couple of strikeouts on the fastball, and this is one of them right there. Look at the action on that fastball. Starts inner third, ends up nearly hitting Ronnie Cedeno, and he swings right through it.
Well, the Reds are certainly going to keep an eye on Cueto, having not started a game since August the 15th. We talked with Dusty Baker in between games. Said, you know, anywhere from 70 to 90 would be his pitch count, and more than likely somewhere in between. Dusty couldn't wipe that smile off his face down in his office in between games that the Reds were able to dodge another extra inning game. Reds have used so much bullpen, playing 5 extra inning games in the last 12 coming into this doubleheader, and had to score in the bottom of the 9th inning to prevent extra innings again. Slapped foul by Ramon Vasquez. 1 ball and 2 strikes, and if you weren't with us, the runners on the corners and 2 men out in the bottom of the 9th. That one got away from Jaramillo, and Darnell McDonald, a great break from third, scored the game-winning run. 4-3 Reds in front of 13,051. Reds had to make up that game that was rained out, the 4th game of the year, after the Reds had opened the season. Of course, here on the home front against the New York Mets, the Pirates came in, and the very first game of the series was rained out. So they made that one up earlier today, and this was a regularly scheduled 7:10 start tonight. Play another one tomorrow night and wrap it up Wednesday afternoon. In the air behind the mound, rolling the call up over the mound and right back down, makes a catch, and that'll do it. 38 pitches in the first 2 innings for Cueto, and his team leads 3-0. And the Reds left them loaded. Ground ball in the first pitch. Backhanded by Cedeno, 1 away. That's where you'd like to see young Mr. Stubbs put the game in the big picture, the macro view, as you look at the early numbers on Mahama. I mean, you got this guy already with 42 pitches coming into the inning. The second inning. Maybe make him work a little bit and get out of there by the 3rd.
Yeah, that's one theory, I think, Tom. But the other theory is, if you're Drew Stubbs, one of the things that I think that they're working on him mentally is that the bat is a weapon. And he gets very tentative up there. He takes a lot of pitches, at least he has early on. And that's the report we got from him down in the minor leagues. He struck out a lot. And sometimes he'd go up there and he really shortened his swing early on, just trying to make contact. You want him to be aggressive. I don't want to take the bat out of a young hitter's hand just because he should take a strike. He may not be a leadoff hitter, you know, somewhere down the road when the Reds have a better leadoff hitter. So I say go up there, and if you get a first pitch fastball, you go ahead and wheel that lumber. Let it rip.
Saw Kip Wells in between innings, told him nice job. He said Drew Sutton had the best line of all about my performance today. Said it didn't look very good in the oven, but it sure did taste good. There's a ground ball down to 3rd. There are 2 away. We remind you, Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio, brought to you by your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealers. Visit buyatoyota.com. By JTM Food Family Fun. JTM. Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. And by Jeep. The Jeep summer clearance is here. Joey Votto, first pitch swinging, dumps it foul and out of play off to the 3rd base side.
That is a good line. I'm going to write that in my stolen lines book.
Well, you got to credit Drew Sutton. Or you know what? Forget about giving the credit. Knowing you, that'll be the case.
Yes, it will.
Oh, and one Novato. A ball and a strike.
You know, it really looks like Paul Maholm in that first inning got away with his bread and butter, which is keeping the ball down around the knees and changing speeds. He got hurt when he got the ball up in the zone, and it looked like he was trying to come up and into right-handers, maybe changing his pitching style the first time through the lineup. This inning, 2 low pitches, 2 ground ball outs.
Fly ball into left field. And the inning is over. So more Maholm-like. He mows him down in order. We play 2 at Great American Ballpark, and the Reds lead 3-0. Reachable, the one in right center during our game tonight. James Loneman from Hamilton will win that Tundra. Register for your chance to win during an upcoming game at your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealer. Great to have you with us on this Monday night. Reds leading 3-0. There's a broken bat roller off the bat of Maholm, and Rolen will throw him out. 1 pitch, 1 out to begin the 3rd for Johnny Cueto.
Well, this bat looked like it had a cherry bomb taped to the handle the way it exploded right here. Not in 1 piece, but about 5 or 6 pieces. Johnny heading for cover.
It's got to be scary when that happens. I mean, you don't know where that bat's coming, right?
You're just hoping it doesn't hit you.
Ball 1 to Andrew McCutchen. He fouled out on a 3-1 pitch to Corky Miller, leading off the game. Cueto throwing a lot of strikes early on, 28 of them against just 15 balls.
Well, that's important for him because he wants to get in as many innings as possible. And if you know ahead of time you're on a pitch count, he probably does. He knows he'd like to get a win right here.
Two and 2 on McCutchen.
course, this is the first time that Johnny Cueto has worked with Corky Miller. Miller now has worked with everybody on the staff, and you know, it's nice to get a veteran like Miller in here who's caught a lot of different pitchers. I mean, he's been around a long time, been a lot of different ball clubs, major and minor leagues, and he's the kind of catcher that's got really good catching aptitude, where you warm a guy up in the bullpen and you can develop a game plan for that pitcher if you're smart enough as a catcher, and Corky's like that.
3-2 on McCutchen. I'll tell you, one night he certainly handled Homer Bailey well the other night. That was as good as Bailey has ever looked in a major league game.
Correct.
He was sensational here on Friday night. There's a rocket. Look at Roland. Ticking down at third and throws out McCutchen. Another day at the office, starting both games of a doubleheader for Scott Rolen.
Man, does he make this look easy?
A nice job indeed. 7 times a Gold Glove winner, Scott Rolen. And back in the National League again full time, looking ahead of next year. He'll get a chance to win an 8th. On the ground, 50 pitches in the books for Cueto, 3 scoreless innings in the books for Johnny Cueto. That help from Rolen in that inning. 3-0 Reds. Be 1 week from tonight when the Bearcats open defense of their Big East title and a trip to a BCS Orange Bowl when they take on Rutgers. 42 pitches in a 3-run opening inning for Mahalam. 10 pitches facing 3 batters in the second. Phillips, Rolen, and Gomes due up in the Reds' third. Hit a ton to deep left center field. McCutchen can only watch it fly, and that is a long one by the empowered shorter jet sign for Brandon Phillips. Home run number 18. And already a couple of RBIs tonight for Brandon Phillips.
Well, he came into this ballgame with a history of having a very good success against this left-hander, Paul Mahalam. 3 home runs and 7 runs batted in. He's already picked up a couple more runs batted in, and that is his 4th dinger off this lefty.
Rolling a fly ball into right. And through the fog from the fireworks, it'll be Garrett Jones for the first out. Reds leading 4-0.
Well, Brandon went down to get that pitch. Mahalam trying to stay down around the knees, and a golf shot. Now in Pittsburgh, that ball is caught around the warning track. It's a deep part of the ballpark over there at PNC Park, and Paul Mahalam is amazed to see that one leave the yard. Hang with him.
One in, one out, and here's Johnny Gomes. Gomes an RBI double down the right field line in the 3-run first inning. Two in, one on Gomes, who has 16 home runs, now 41 runs batted in. 2-2. We talked about all the changes that have taken place for these two teams going back to the very start of the year, as Gomes has gone for the second out of the inning. And the changes have occurred in dramatically different ways. The Pirates basically have traded away so many players, not only in their opening day lineup, but pitchers in their rotation, guys in the bullpen, swing guys. Whereas the Reds, yeah, they've made a couple of deals. David Weathers, Alex Gonzalez, but by and large, many of the players in their opening day lineup, and certainly in the starting rotation, have gone down due to injuries. I mean, you look back to the season opener for each team. You get a look at the Pirates lineup on the left, the Reds lineup on the right. Fast forward to today, Doman, Andy LaRoche, Brandon Moss still around, McDonald, Votto, and Phillips for the Reds. Everybody else gone. Morgan, Sanchez, McLeod, LaRoche, Wilson traded. Hairston, Encarnacion, Gonzalez traded. The other two on the DL. And that doesn't even begin to dig in where you are with your pitching staff. Two and one on Darnell McDonald. Grounded fair up the third base line. He'll make a hard turn, and he will go to second base with a double.
Well, Darnell hitting the ball hard, hit a home run into the second deck yesterday off of Clayton Kershaw and jammed a fastball, and he likes that fastball up. Gets it by the veteran Vasquez down the third base line, and he'll pick up a double. So the Reds with 2 outs have some speed aboard here.
Number 8 batter Corky Miller. He walked in the first inning. Reds leading 4-0. We're in the bottom of the third.
He's got a little Nacho Libre in him, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm.
I like the way he introduced himself to you when you were talking to him for the first time in Milwaukee. You stuck your hand out and said, "Hi, Tom Brenneman." He said, "Corky."
Yeah,
that was it.
That's it. I mean, really, what you see is what you get.
Exactly, and you gotta love it.
Talk to him the next number of days, and just as friendly as you said he was. You know, not going to meet a nicer guy. And another guy, we were talking about Darnell McDonald. I mean, here's a guy that just keeps plugging along. I just can't put a finger, though, on what actor that he reminds me of. Just the look, just the face.
You don't think it's Jack Black, huh?
No, it's somebody else. I mean, I see where you're going with Jack Black. I get that. But there's somebody else I'm thinking of, more of the Western route.
He was on his way to the dugout. I don't know why he would be, but good chance to play a little add-on. You got to figure Maham would love to retire Corky here and then lead the inning off with Cueto next.
Still 3-2 on Miller. Oh man, I got it right on the. I mean, when you look at that picture out on the scoreboard, okay.
You talking about an old-time Western guy?
No, it's somebody who's still alive. 3-2 to Miller, and there's ball four. It's another good at bat. Man, it's gonna make me crazy all night. Well, here's Cueto really in an almost identical situation that he was in the first inning. Rather than the bases loaded, there are 2 on, and he swings. It's bottled, and how about that? Ricochets off the glove of Young right to the shortstop Cedeno, and they get the force out. Ah, well, there's a lot to be said for living right. Current Reds player made his major league debut as a pinch hitter for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Pretty good question right there. Big round of applause by Kiss Cam. Why do you always turn around? Are you afraid they're going to put you and I on the board together or something? Is that the deal?
Would you kiss me if they put me on the board?
I'll give you a big old kiss on the cheek.
That's why I'm turning around.
You know, my wife says the same thing. She runs away when a kiss cam comes on and we're in a ball game together. And now I finally get it.
Yep.
All right. Boy. Doesn't take me that long. A little longer than some, perhaps most. But I'll get it. Thanks for the help. I'm going to ask her about that when I get home.
I mean, it's not like you're not trying. You got a box of Altoids right here on the counter.
Better believe it. I mean, I got to make sure that, you know, when I go over to give you that peck on the cheek.
But you don't smell like Skyline?
Well, we had Skyline for dinner.
We did.
So you mean to tell me you're worried about them taking a shot of us up here on the Kiss Cam and putting us up on the Jumbotron? I would have never thought of it.
I wouldn't call it worried about it. It was just something I would probably prefer to avoid.
Well, I understand that part.
I mean, do you feel the same way, or are you looking forward to it?
You know, the more I think about it, kind of looking forward to it. But now that you're ducking and jiving, and considering tomorrow is it for us on the tube, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, have to wait till next year. 3-2 the count.
Be a long winter, huh?
Oh, and Garrett, Joe, there's no question. If you would only answer your phone when I call just to say hello. 3-2 to Jones, to be followed by Doman and Pierce. Struck him out. Boy, Cueto looks good. There's no debate about that. That's 5 strikeouts in the game, and he's only allowed 1 hit.
Well, he came back and he switched the way he pitched to Garrett Jones, who hit a double off of him the first time up. He got a fastball last time. That's a slider, and he's not throwing all that many of them tonight. Good spin, nice tight circle. If you could see that pitch and zoom in on it, you see a little dot. And that's where you see your best sliders. But that's the pitch that he's really worked on and has done a great job with, and that's a changeup. And that's a pitch that was very elusive for him during the second half here when he posted all those bad games.
You know, it's funny when you talk to friends that you have around the league and maybe you haven't played a team for a long period of time, and I'm using a reference point with the Diamondbacks. And I'll talk to Mark Grace from time to time, and you know, he'll say, what in the world has happened to Johnny Cueto? Because, you know, the only 2 or 3 times they've only seen Cueto, I mean, he looks like the best pitcher in the league.
Oh, he
made his major league debut against him last year when he struck out 10, didn't walk anybody, allowed 1 hit. He's thrown 2 or 3 other really good games against Arizona. And, you know, they're like, no way has that guy allowed 7, 8, 9 runs in a game.
Well, the last time he faced Arizona, he went 6 innings of 1 hit, 8 strikeout baseball. Did not give up a run.
Fly ball into left field, and Darnell McDonald's there for the second out of the inning.
So their impression is, yeah, he is Bob Gibson. But it happens, you know, as a young pitcher you get derailed, and the thing that Johnny Cueto has always done, and a lot of young hard throwing pitchers have done this, when they get in trouble they try to throw harder, and that works until you get to the major leagues, because sometimes when you throw harder the pitch straightens out, it gets elevated in the strike zone, and these guys make a living out of hitting the ball, you know, when you're throwing at 94 right down the middle, that's hitting speed. Especially as a starter. I mean, you can come in with Johnny Cueto's stuff and throw 1 inning and pretty much throw it anywhere, and you're probably going to get out of the inning. But when you have to repeat it and you see the same batter more than once in a ball game, you've got to do more than just throw hard. And they've done great work with him, it looks like, in the last couple of weeks in that bullpen, because he looks like a different pitcher to me. His approach is much calmer than it was over his last half dozen starts. Much in the way that Homer Bailey's approach was much calmer in his last 2 starts.
Well, I like this move here by Miller. I mean, get ahead of a hitter 0-2. And I would imagine, and you would know, Chris, you've been on the mound, I got to believe what you talked about with the veteran Miller. He doesn't want Cueto fooling around a lot here. I mean, why fool around here, another pitch here, and before you know it, it's 2-2 or 3-2. No, figure out what you want to do and get the guy out.
Well, you know, that was the old Greg Maddux theory. It says you look up the batting averages on certain counts. The lowest batting average on any count is 0-2. So why wouldn't I want to go after a guy when I've got him 0-2? Doesn't mean you throw a cookie down the middle, but it also means you don't start niddling around. All of a sudden you find yourself in a full count.
And Sonia unable to get it out there to Johnny Cueto. And after a 0-2 pitch in the dirt, throws a breaking ball at 1-2, and now it's 2-2.
Well, they had him 1-2 last time and struck him out on a changeup. A beautiful pitch on the outside corner.
Cueto with 5 strikeouts, 1 walk, allowed 1 hit, a 2-out first inning double by Garrett Jones. And again, if you're just joining us, they would like to have him somewhere between 70 and 90 pitches. Perfect world, right around 80. This is number 68, and it's still 2-2. And you know, as you brought up earlier, Chris, that if Cueto can take care of Pierce here, they'd love to give this guy a chance to pick up a win and get through 5 innings.
And they'd also like to get 1 more inning out of him to save another inning on the bullpen.
This should be the final out.
Even with a fresh arm down there in the bullpen.
A 1, 2, 3, 4 for Johnny Cueto. 69 pitches through the front 4. Made his major league debut as a pinch hitter for the Pirates. You want to get in a late entry?
Kip Wells. Bronson Arroyo? That makes sense. Kip Wells with the White Sox first. That's a bad guess. Did you guess that right?
No, I had no idea.
That's a good question.
It is. Learn something every day.
Now the question is, what did he do
in that at bat?
With that first at bat.
He grounded out. He made his first start the next day on the mound against the same team, the Atlanta Braves. Got his first big league win about a month later on July the 22nd against the Philadelphia Phillies. Here's a 2-2 pitch. Line right at the third baseman, Vasquez. Well, we take a look at the National League wild card race presented by Honda. Both the Giants and the Rockies are off tonight. Atlanta is playing in Florida. Big series there. And in the bottom of the fifth inning, the Marlins with a 1-0 lead.
And by the way, Tom, we talked about it in the earlier ball game today about Tim Hudson coming back for the Atlanta Braves. They actually had his start delayed until tomorrow. And nothing wrong with Hudson's arm or his rehab. It had to do with some procedural moves and clearing up a roster spot on the 40-man roster. So they pushed him back till tomorrow after September 1st rolls around, and that's when clubs can add to their roster.
Kenshin Kawakami started that game. He's allowed 1 run in 5 innings. They go to the 6th. Josh Johnson, 5 innings of no-hit baseball for the Marlins.
What else is new?
Pretty good.
I'll tell you what, the best stuff we've seen this year who have faced the Reds, Josh Johnson and Ubaldo Jimenez as starters.
What about Dan Herron?
And I've got to throw Clayton Kershaw into that. He had good stuff, but he wasn't in the category of Jimenez. I mean, Jimenez was throwing 98 miles an hour in the 8th inning. And Josh Johnson the same way. I'm not saying that they're as good or better than Danny Herron. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But I'm just talking about dominating stuff. Boy, oh boy, can he rush it up there.
1-2 to Giannis. And it's in the air down the left field line. And it's out of play.
Hey, Reds fans, for a great tasting meal and an unbeatable value, pick up delicious JTM Philly kits, burgers, or delicious hoagies at your favorite grocer. JTM, food, family, fun.
1-2 on Giannis, who knocked in on the game's first run with a double down the left field line. Later scored a run, and there's his second hit of the night. Breaking ball in there, strike to Votto. Hitless so far in the first 2 games of this doubleheader. 0 for 4 in the opener. Has bounced to first and fly to left here in 2 at-bats of the nightcap. Talking about those teams involved in the National League wildcard race. Everybody in both leagues will be back at it tomorrow night. Foul out of play, third base side. Broken bat roller, should be 2, and it is a double play to win the inning. Hit a man, hit nobody left. We go to the 5th, still 4-0 Reds in front. rosy right now for the Reds. AT&T, the nation's fastest 3G network. AT&T, your world delivered. Dusty Baker keeping an eye on Johnny Cueto tonight. His first start since August the 15th, and so far very good results. 4 innings of 1-hit shutout baseball, 5 strikeouts and 1 walk. That was his 70th pitch of the game. So more than likely this figures to be his final inning of work. Well, again, if you weren't with us, Dusty Baker said in between games somewhere between 70 and 90, and preferably right at 80. On the ground down to Roland. 1 away.
Well, he's thrown a lot of strikes tonight, and that's important for any pitcher, but especially coming back off the disabled list and attempting to go deep enough into a ball game to maybe be qualified for a win. So just about twice as many strikes as balls for Cueto.
Nine in a row retired by Cueto. The last Pirate to reach was a 1-out walk in the second to Brandon Moss. And here's Ronnie Cedeno. He's down strike 1. The only hit Cueto allowed, a double, with 2 away in the first inning to right field off the bat of Garrett Jones. Popped up short right. Phillips is here. 2 gone. Well, we talked about it earlier. The question is, will Chris bring his dogs to bark in the park?
It's all set. You know why? You and the Cowboy are working together that night. I will be here with Grace and at least one of our puppies.
That'll be on Tuesday, September the 15th. The first 10,000 pet owners receive a pet food bowl and all kinds of things going on. The Reds Dog Zone. Lots of product samples, activities, a place to get your new best friend. In fact, the SPCA, Harold Dates and Company, will be out on the plaza level before the game. You can adopt a dog or cat. Reds Bark in the Park. Visit reds.com/dog day. Two and one on Ramon Vasquez. Two and two. Well, nobody getting warmed up down in the Reds bullpen. Reds made a bevy of player moves before the ball game. Carlos Fisher sent down to the instructional league to try and stay sharp before coming back on September the 7th. There's a liner into right center field by Vasquez for a 2-out hit. First Pirate hit since the opening inning and only their second of the game.
Well, usually you don't get hurt when you're down in the zone. Johnny Cueto's found that out tonight, but sometimes those left-handers will go down, way down, and get that ball, kind of golfing that baby out of here. About ankle high. About 80% of the time you go after a pitch like that, you're going to roll over on it and ground it out. But he'll take the base hit, only the second on the night for the Pirates against Cueto.
Well, now Johnny will try and end the 5th inning by retiring Mahalam, and it looks like he'll do so. That's that. 5 very good innings out of Cueto. Is his night over? We'll find out shortly. What we know is the Reds lead 4-0. Sponsored by CincyFavorites.com. You can get a ballot here at the ballpark. Skyline Chili, Montgomery Inn. Or log on to Reds.com/Hall of Fame and vote today. And again, the list of the modern players. Mighty impressive class. Boone, Brantley, Charlton, Morris, Graves, Mitchell, Morris, O'Neill, Sabo, Sullivan. That class will be inducted, or the player in that class will be inducted next year. They have the ceremonies every other year. But what an event we had here last summer. And that one hit a ton, but is it fair? Bending foul. Whoa, that's a fair ball. Everybody stopped. Ryan Doumit saying, wait a minute. The Pirate third baseman saying, wait a minute. And Brandon Phillips has his second home run, his third RBI of the night. And you wonder if this one will be looked at on the replay. John Russell comes out. And I think he's saying, hey, how about asking the home plate umpire if he saw it any better? Sam Holbrook is the third base umpire.
Well, knowing our cameraman, Tom, we have a definitive look. Let's take a look and see if we can tell. Now, it ended up where it looked like it was foul, but off the bat of a right-hander, it's hooking. Let's take another look where it is when we can think that it's right over the top of the foul pole. Wow.
I mean, you're waiting for the ball to disappear, which would tell you it stayed fair, but it was hit so high,
right,
that it was above the top of the fair pole.
Well, you know what that means when the umpires disappear down into the dugout area. They've got a monitor down there. They have a phone. They pick the phone up. It's a hotline to New York, where they'll get Major League Baseball on the phone, where they will review over and over. And there are the rules when it comes to reviewing a home run call.
And the only ones you can review: was it fair or foul? Was there fan interference? Or a ball was leaving the field of play? Of course, managers can't say, hey, go look in the replay booth, or, you know, throw a flag like in football.
You know, it looks like it's foul once it gets by the foul pole, but when that ball goes over the top of the foul pole, that has a chance to be fair. I mean, it's very close. There's the ball right around the foul pole. We run that back a few frames. The ball never disappears behind the foul pole. Well, it goes over the foul pole. That's why, right? Wow.
That looks like it might be a foul ball.
That looks like a foul ball. How about us being able to blow it up?
Great work by our crew downstairs. Our producer Doug Johnson, our director Christian Roberts, and everybody else down there in the truck.
Well, that didn't take long.
The camera crew.
It didn't take long. They came back, and immediately the home plate umpire Rick Reed has motioned that being a foul ball.
Yeah, you know what? I think Brandon Phillips knew it all along. You could almost tell by his body language when he got back in the dugout that he thought, maybe I just got away with one. And I think he's probably told Dusty the same thing, and that's why you're not seeing anybody come out, well, you know, to even challenge his decision.
Where Dusty sits in the dugout, he may have one of the best looks at it. Our camera, the one that we showed you, is really right in line, right down the third base line, all the way out to the foul pole.
So Phillips on the next pitch gets a base hit in the center field. know, there's no right and there's no wrong, but you know, after just growing up as a kid and always hearing people call it the foul pole, the more and more I've watched baseball, I've never understood why it was ever called the foul pole. Because if it hits the pole, it's a fair ball.
Correct.
And I think so many people are so used to, like I was, like a lot of kids are, when they hear the same thing from their mom and dad, their little league coach, listening to games on radio. But as time has gone by, I don't understand why anybody would have ever called it the foul pole, me included, from the beginning. It really clearly is a demarcation line between what is fair and what is foul. But the bottom line is, if you're talking about referencing the pole itself, the pole is a fair ball.
All right, so what do they call that white line going from home plate to first base? The fair line or the foul line?
Again, that's because that's what we've all grown up calling it. But in the infield, that line is not a fair line. The bag determines fair and foul once it gets beyond the bag.
Right. But until the bag,
it's a fair line. Right.
It's a demarcation line.
Yep. If it stays on the line and just stops on the line like a bunt attempt, it's a fair ball.
So you're telling me that when you become commissioner?
No. I'm not suggesting. Hey, look, anybody call it whatever they want. I've just never understood why. I mean, it's kind of like that old thing about driveway and parkway. You know, why do you call it parkway? You know what I'm saying? Here's a fly ball into shallow left center field. Why would you call the place you park your car a driveway? And why would you call a place where you drive your car a parkway? Doesn't make any sense.
Why do feet smell and noses run?
That's a very good question. Another one. Nonsense abound here in the bottom half of the fifth inning.
You know, this is the second game of a day-night doubleheader.
There's no question about it. So one away, and here is Johnny Gomes. Gomes an RBI double in the first inning, struck out swinging in the third. Grounded foul. You know, the only baseball announcer that I ever heard that was actually the guy that changed my mind about it. The only guy I've ever heard call it the fair play is John Miller.
Yeah.
The only guy I've ever heard. I'm not saying he's
very smart announcer.
1-1 to Johnny Gomes. Pulled foul again. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Hopefully everybody's all right down there. That thing came in hot.
I mean, another thing announcers say a lot is when someone were to pick up more than 1 run batted in, they'll say RBIs.
Yep.
That's when it is actually already plural.
Guilty as charged.
Me too. All the time.
Two and 2 to go. Activity for the first time now all of a sudden begins in the Reds bullpen. I mean, just now. And you can see not even pitching off the mound itself yet is Daniel Ray Herrera. Nice to see your old regular golfing buddy out here tonight with us, hanging out with his kids.
I wouldn't call him regular.
Well, let's put it this way.
My game
the guy that you go raid is garage all the time for the free equipment, since both of you swing left-handed in golf.
I'm just hoping the next time he goes out of town, I get the remote control to the garage door. Take all that excess stuff away.
Well, he's a lucky man, very blessed man. Got 2 beautiful young ones here tonight with him, his son and daughter, and they're hanging out, having a good time watching the ball game. Three and 2 to go. Told you Herrera for the Reds in their bullpen, and there's activity in the Pirate pen. Hard throwing right-hander Denny Bautista. Just recently brought back up from Indianapolis, and there's ball 4 to go. So Mulholland with 101 pitches now in the game. Walks his third batter of the night, and he'll now face Darnell McDonald with 2 on and 1 out.
Of course, he threw about 40% of those pitches in the first inning. Since then, he's been pretty good, except for that home run he gave up to Brandon Phillips to lead off the third inning. He has been tidy with the runs.
Ball 1 to Darnell McDonald, who was struck out and doubled. Only one final around baseball from earlier today. Tampa Bay hoping to make a late charge in that wild card race. Beat Detroit 11-7.
Well, you got kind of a standoff here with Paul Mulholland. You know, Brandon Phillips is working the lead as big as he possibly can get, but Delwin Young and Ronnie Cedeno really are unwilling to leave their positions in the event that there's a ground ball they can turn into 2. And with 1 out, very good possibility that Brandon may just want to swipe third.
We saw Scott Rowland do it the other night in Milwaukee. Of course, they didn't pay as much attention to him as they are to Phillips. One and one on Darnell McDonald. Quick pitched in there, and that pitch wound up in the dirt. Another nice play by Doman.
You know, one of the problems of changing your roster over mid-year like the Pirates have done is that you probably have not worked a lot on pickoff plays. Good block by Doman. He's done that a couple of times tonight on balls in the dirt. And you get a guy at second base who's that far off, and Brandon is quite a bit off. You would normally have, if you had your normal shortstop that you've been working with for a while. Remember, this is the 5th season for Paul Mulholland. But he hasn't worked all that much with Ronnie Cedeno at short, nor Delwin Young at second base. So they don't have a timing play or a flash play or anything else that they can put on right here. Or at least you'd think that they may have worked on it, but you know, these guys come over in the middle of the year, and it's some of these things that oftentimes get lost, and you don't work on them until March comes around.
Brandon Phillips, of his 21 steals this year, 5 of them have been steals of third base. Two and two on Darnell McDonald. And that is a foul ball.
Review it. Boy, Dan Iasonia, you know, you get down there at third base as an umpire, you think you get the night off. Clearly foul.
We're in the bottom of the 5th inning, game 2 of this day-night doubleheader. Reds with a 4-0 lead and a chance to add to it. A 2 on and 1 out here for Darnell McDonald. Here comes a 2-2 pitch from Mulholland. Runners go. Pitch taken low, and a double steal. Phillips to third and Johnny Gomes to second.
Well, the Pirates did not do a very good job in trying to discourage Brandon Phillips. I mean, Paul Maholm did about all he could. He stepped off the mound. He faked a couple of throws to second base, but not one time did either of those infielders really dart to second base, try to put a play on, really try to shorten up or put some fear of a pickoff into the head of Brandon Phillips. So he took advantage of it.
3-2 now on McDonald. Oh boy, look out, Brandon Phillips.
With the way that Darnell's been hitting the ball down the third base line, you better watch out.
Darnell making sure he's all right.
Of course, you get those cutters and those sliders from a left-hander. That's about the only place you can hit it.
Oh. 3-2 one more time to Darnell. Check swing. Did he go? They appeal. And
he's waiting for the home plate umpire Rick Reed to ask him. Rick Reed called it out.
Wow.
He didn't even wait for a second opinion to first base. The home plate umpire rung him up.
Well, I didn't see that initially. Did you?
I think I did.
Did it?
Oh, yeah. Anytime you flatten the bat like that, I mean, if you can check swing and keep the bat upright as long as possible, you're going to keep yourself from getting rung up a lot by those umpires on the bases. But as soon as you flatten your bat out, it gives them an indication that you're going to go around.
All right, now Corky Miller. That ball launched, but right at the left fielder Moss Sinettle in the inning. Hit a couple of men left. We played 5. And the Reds lead by 4.
You're listening to. But tomorrow the September call-ups happen. That's when the clubhouse gets a little crowded, and a little more crowded this year for the Reds because they hope to get some guys back from injury as well. One being Jay Bruce, out with that fractured right wrist, and he is our subject of our Geico quote of the day. He said, obviously you have to take it easy, know your body, what you can tolerate and what you can't. I'm not going to push it. I just want to come back and get ready. When I'm ready, I'll play again. Jay Bruce has begun dry swinging, guys. He's hitting off of a tee, but he has yet to take batting practice, so his return is not imminent, but they hope to see him sometime in September.
Well, it'd be great to see Jay Bruce. See if he can finish the season on a high note. So 1-1 to Andrew McCutchen, and the answer to the question we asked after the top of the 5th inning, would Johnny Cueto come back and pitch the 6th inning? And here he is to begin the 6th inning. He's only allowed 2 hits. He has now thrown 84 pitches in the game. That ball hit hard to deep center field. Stubbs at the track, at the wall, and it's gone. A home run by McCutchen. And the Pirates on the board. It's a 4-1 ball game, and that's going to be it for Cueto. Here comes Dusty Baker. So that's going to be all for Cueto. Really a down note on the final pitch that he throws on an otherwise excellent night. 85 pitches, allowed 3 hits and 1 run, and great to see Johnny Cueto back and throwing the ball well. Struck out 5, walked about it, and gets a nice round of applause from the crowd at Great American Ballpark. Taking over on the mound for Johnny Cueto, with the Reds leading 4-1 here in the 6th inning, is left-hander Daniel Ray Herrera. Delwyn Young, a bouncing ball, diving play by Giannis. Can he get him at first? He does. What a play by Giannis, but he is making those look almost routine, the way he has played since taking over after the trade of Alex Gonzalez.
Boy, Paul Giannis has to be one of the happiest people in Reds country right here, with an opportunity to show off. To say, hey, you know what? I can play some defense. Remember that Alex Gonzalez was brought aboard 3 years ago primarily for defense. They had Felipe Lopez playing shortstop, and I remember Jerry Nara saying, hey, you know, it's time to upgrade our defense here. And they put him in and went out and got Gonzalez. And since Gonzalez has gone back to the Boston Red Sox, Giannis has been picking it.
That one hooked foul. Well, certainly what an outstanding season it has been. Granted, 1 month to go for Daniel Ray Herrera. And a young man who threw the ball so brilliantly in spring training. We saw him a little bit last year, but certainly not enough to make a definitive opinion of whether he could do it or not do it at the big league level. That was debated all through spring training. Well, the Reds decided to take the chance on Herrera. Made his season debut on opening day and was wild. And everybody wondered, well, you know, is he maybe real good in spring training, but, you know, you put a third deck on the ballpark and isn't he able to handle it? Well, after his first couple of outings to start this 09 season, he has been as dependable as anybody around.
Well, the biggest thing for Daniel Herrera is that he's fearless. I mean, he doesn't realize he's like the Chihuahua that thinks he's a pit bull. And that's the way he goes about his business. And, you know, he throws a lot of junk up there. He's got the curveball and the Scroogey and change-ups galore. But every once in a while, he'll throw a fastball and sneak it by you at 85 or 86 miles an hour, stand up a left-hander, get him off the plate. He just shows no fear. And he is not fun to hit off of either. I mean, sometimes when you see a hitter go up there and the first pitch they see from Herrera, they'll take it. And they'll have a little smirk on their face. But that goes away in a hurry. Especially when they bang one of these breaking balls off their front ankle. Oh,
square hit there.
Go ahead and go into your garage and grab that 16-ounce hammer and hit yourself on the shin. That's about what that feels like.
No thanks. Right back to Herrera. All right, we understand we've been getting literally thousands of text messages. So here you go. Our text poll question: who does Corky Miller look like? Now take a good look here. You got Josh Brolin, number 1, Jack Black, number 2, Charles Bronson, number 3. Text 1, 2, or 3 to 37664. Lined into right field, a base hit. So Domit with a 2-out single, and the inning continues for Steve Pearce. Now just take a look. You know, clearly Jack Black is more on the husky side, a lot like Miller is.
Sure.
Okay, now Bronson's a little older and it's tough to factor in the mustache. Brolin, just facially, is what we're talking about here. So looks like the early leader is Jack Black.
Now, since that picture was taken, that looks like the official picture. This one up here, that is on the scoreboard when he comes up to the plate. But he has since grown a mustache a lot more like Charles Bronson and a little bit scruffy like Jack Black. He's got the Jack Black attitude, I'll tell you that.
See, I vote 1 there, but that's just me.
I say Nacho Libre.
Okay.
Priest by day, catcher by night.
Swing and a miss. 1 and 2. All right, now, if we get another shot at Corky. See, right now with the mustache, and this is why I'm leaning that way, I think there's more in the eyes with Brolin. I see your point, though, on Black. I see where you're going. Pulled foul. You know, you bring up a good point. It may be more I might be leaning more towards Brolin because of that new mustache rather than the other pitcher.
Yeah. I mean, but who can you see behind the plate more?
Well, that's what I was saying. When you're looking for a husky guy now, Black's the guy.
Who would you cast to play Corky Miller?
Oh, yeah, well, body type and everything for a catcher. Yeah, for sure. No doubt. Jack Black. 2 and 2 on Pearce. In the air, hit pretty well into deep left center field. And that's up against the wall. And will bring in the second Pirate run of the inning. They'll throw it to the plate, but not going to be in time. So Domit scores on a double by Pearce. And all of a sudden, the 4-0 lead is a 2-run ball game.
Boy, Steve Pearce really waited on this 67-mile-an-hour breaking ball. That looks like a screwball right there that catches a lot of the plate. And he waited and waited and waited and whacked it.
Well, now the tying run comes to the plate, and it's Brandon Moss. Strike one. Reds have 10 more outs to cover. Bouncing ball. Giannis again from his knees, can't get to his feet. And that'll be an infield hit for Moss.
Well, he's tucked around by second base anyway, as Paul Giannis does not have a lot to go to get there. But as he got to it, he went off of the dirt part of the infield onto the grass, and that's where he lost his footing right there. Kind of clipped his heel on that little edging.
Well, now Herrera stays in there to face another right-handed batter. Ronnie Cedeno. Runners on the corners, and it's ball one in. Right-hander Nick Massett up and throwing in the Reds bullpen. And some of these guys have to be running on absolute fumes down there in the pen. I mean, seemingly every night they are coming into games here lately with all the tight games and all the extra inning games. Massett pitched an inning in game one. That one pulled foul. Fifth time in the last 7 games that he has pitched. Fifth time in the last 7 days. So this would be, if he comes into this game, the 6th time in 7 days that Massett has pitched. Found out a play. Same thing with Herrera. You go back to last weekend against the Pirates. He pitched Tuesday in Milwaukee, Wednesday in Milwaukee, Saturday against the Dodgers, and now here today in game 2 of the doubleheader.
Well, they did bring up a new pitcher in one of the many transactions they made. In addition to trying to get Johnny Cueto on the roster so that he could pitch off the disabled list, they also brought up Ramon Ramirez. But what Dusty Baker has is really a covey of pitchers that he uses when the team is winning, and he uses other pitchers when the team is losing. And Massett is on the winning side. Rhodes is on the winning side. Obviously Cordero too, but I don't think Cordero could possibly be available today, not based on the fact that he's pitched, I think, 4 out of the last 5 days.
Well, the same really holds true for everybody they have down there.
Yeah.
And again, some of the changes made. Matt Maloney, they'll send him down to the minor leagues to get him another start before bringing him back up when the team's in Colorado. Carlos Fisher will go down and pitch a little bit in Florida before coming back. Lance Nix has been unavailable for 4 days with a bulging disc, so he went on the DL. Cueto activated. Kevin Barker brought back up, and Ramon Ramirez. Another base hit, and it's a 1-run game. Now you can understand what Dusty's doing here. I mean, he's leaving in Herrera trying to get an out. But Herrera's facing a lot of right-handed batters, and that clearly has not been his strong suit.
Well, he's getting the ball up, and that may be just a function of fatigue. When you can't finish your pitches, whether it's a curveball, changeup, screwball, or fastball, you're going to elevate that pitch. And Dusty's seen enough trying to get out of this inning. He's going to make one more pitching move.
So the 4-0 lead when the inning began saw Johnny Cueto with more features and new ways to play. Log on to foxsports.com on MSN and join the next generation of fantasy football. Vladimir Valentin, part of a double switch. He'll take over and play right field, and now on the mound is right-hander Nick Masset.
Well, if he looks familiar, he should. He's been in there an awful lot lately, as every reliever on this ball club has. And you know, a big heart and a guy that wants to settle into the job right here. Has had a pretty good year of it, 4-1 with an earned run average in the 2s. And he needs one out to get out of this inning, where the Pirates have scored 3 to tighten it up to a one-run ball game.
Fly ball center field. Stubbs has it. One pitch in the inning is over for Masset. So Pirates get 3 to make it a 1-run game after 5.5. Johnny Cueto On a 2-2 count, thought that was strike 3.
That's a classic moment.
Coors Light Freeze Can brought to you by Frost Brewed. Coors Light. Brandon Phillips getting a charge out of that. Couple of changes for the Pirates. Andy LaRoche, their regular third baseman, takes over there. And now on the mound, Denny Bautista's looked like a different guy since being brought back up from AAA.
Well, that only encompasses 4 innings overall, spanned over 3 different ball games. Last year he did pitch in 30 and make it 51 games with the Pirates. His earned run average last year over 5. In fact, he combined years last year with the Detroit Tigers and the Pittsburgh Pirates, and didn't line up either of those clubs very much. But here he is in a 1-run ball game.
So Vladimir Valentin batting for the first time. Holland gives up the 4 runs on 9 hits in his 5 innings. 2-0 on Valentin. 3 of the runs came in the first. The other run, a solo home run by Brandon Phillips in the 3rd. Struck out 4 and walked 3. On Valentin. Stubbs to follow, and then Paul Yanish here in the bottom half of the 6th inning for the Reds. They won the first game of this day-night doubleheader 4-3, scoring a run on a wild pitch in the bottom of the 9th, and I think that pitch hit the umpire. That looked like that hit Dan Iasonia. I mean, it looked like that got him almost flush right in the face. That is Rick Reed umpiring here in game 2. He got his bell rung, but apparently he's got a good sense of humor.
Well, it went right off the tip of the glove by Doman. Could not get his glove up there to catch the ball at all, and just tipped it just enough to get the top of the mask, but hitting pretty solidly. That's about the same spot that Ryan Hannigan got hit, ended up with concussion. And I mean, Bautista throws it up there now. I mean, he's riding it up there in the mid-90s.
Good to see that Rick Reed apparently is all right. And here is Drew Stubbs. Stubbs in the nightcap, 1 of 3, singled and scored leading off the game. Has bounced to short and lined out to 3rd. In game 1, Drew had a couple of hits, including a home run in the 1st inning. Stole a base and scored twice. And here comes Joe Kerrigan. On Stubbs. And Bautista back on the mound with Valentin at first and nobody out. There's a strike. Brought up earlier, Bautista had retired the last 12 batters that he had faced coming into this outing tonight. Throw a fastball right by Stubbs, and that's one of the reasons Denny Bautista continues to get a look in a different uniform seemingly year after year.
Well, he started with Baltimore in 2004. Had a cup of coffee with them, and then Kansas City for the next couple of years, in Colorado for a couple of different parts of seasons. Last year, as I mentioned, with Detroit and with the Pittsburgh Pirates, and here in his 4th game with the Pirates, and he makes quick work of Drew Stubbs. Well, anytime you get an arm like that, there's always somebody in the organization, whether it's a scout or a pitching coach or an advisor to the general manager, saying, hey, this guy's got great arm. All our reports on him, he's got plus stuff. Let's see if one of our guys can't do something with him.
Paul Giannis now against Bautista. Pulled it foul. Giannis, a couple of hits and 3 at bats, an RBI double in the first. He later scored in a 3-run opening inning. Has since bounced to third and singled into center field. Up and in, look out. One and one to Giannis, and a breaking ball is down and away. 2 balls and a strike. Activity in the Pirate bullpen. Steven Jackson begins to throw. Fastball in on his hands at 93 miles per hour, and Giannis able to fight it off. 2-2. Reds and the Pirates here on Fox Sports Ohio tomorrow night. Justin Lear on the mound. He'll be opposed by Charlie Morton. And no TV, radio only on Wednesday. Homer Bailey, back-to-back outstanding game against Pirate left-hander and 10-game winner Zach Duke. Wow. Valentine stole a few bases in the minor leagues, but certainly has not been known as a big base stealing threat at this level. They're paying a lot of attention to him over there, and he doesn't even have a 2-step lead.
Well, a lot of times that is not the pitcher's decision. Oftentimes, nowadays anyway, that decision whether to throw over to first base, especially from a right-handed pitcher, comes from the dugout. Relayed to the catcher. Catcher drops the sign, and the pitcher has to throw over.
Two on Giannis, and the runner goes. Pitch swung on and missed. Throw down to second base, and he is out.
Wow, what a pick.
Nice pick indeed by the second baseman, Delwyn Young. So a strike him out, throw him out, double play ends the inning. We go to the 7th. The Reds lead 4-3. Brandon Phillips made it 2-0 with a run-scoring single to left. After a hit by Rowland, a bloop double to right by Gomes. 3 runs in the first. Brandon Phillips made it 4-0 with a home run in the third. And Johnny Cueto, his first start since August 15th, went 5 innings, allowed a home run to McCutchen. They took him out. Daniel Ray Herrera gave up 4 hits in 2/3 of an inning. And it's a 4-3 game. Nick Massett had to get the final out of that 6th inning. Phillips a perfect 3 for 3, 2 RBIs, has scored twice, stolen a base, and had a second home run taken away on replay. That looked like the right call. So 9 outs to go for this Reds bullpen. And you got to wonder how many places they can really turn. As Chris pointed out, especially talking about where they turn with a lead, and the guys they generally like to use with a lead, like every team. That one in the air, foul ground, and Rowland is there for the first out. I mean, you've got 2 guys that are more than available in that bullpen to chew up innings, but the Reds have been very reluctant to use Micah Owings at all. He pitched, what, 1 game out of the bullpen and 1 inning out of the bullpen. Takes him a long time to get loose. They brought up Ramon Ramirez. Do you want to bring him into a game that you're trying to win with a 1-run lead? You know, you keep hoping for that game, and it looked like this might be the kind of game where when the Reds led 4-0, and especially in that 5th inning, they had another chance to tack on another run or 2 of getting out to a 6 or 7-0 lead. Well, then you could go from Cueto to Ramirez and maybe not bother anybody else in the bullpen. But after giving up 3, you know, here you come after giving up 1 with Herrera again, Massett again. Can you use Rhodes again? He already pitched in game 1 of the doubleheader. And like everybody else has been used so frequently here of late. I mean, Dusty's in a tough spot on this one. Strike 3 to McCutchen.
Nick Massett looks like he's got pretty good breaking stuff for a guy that has been used an awful lot lately, and sometimes that's the way to go. I mean, his fastball oftentimes is up above 95 miles an hour. He's throwing around 92 tonight, so he doesn't reach back and get his normal heater, but he's got a hammer of a breaking ball working. Well, the other guy they haven't talked much about, Tom, in the mix is Jared Burton. Burton pitched a couple of innings in yesterday's ball game. But before that, he had not pitched until Thursday. So he had Friday and Saturday off, and certainly probably could come back after a couple innings yesterday. That's always the manager's biggest concern after you have a couple of games and either you go extra innings or your starter gets blown out early and now your relief corps has to cover a lot of innings. That's the concern. You walk the fine line between, you know, getting the wins, getting the guys out there in the situations that you want, and, you know, on the verge of, are you over pitching them?
A very effective inning for Massett. He mows him down 1-2-3. Middle of the seventh. Reds lead 4-3. Time now for the seventh inning stretch presented. $150 2009 Motor Trend Truck of the Year by Aflac. We've got you under our wing by your Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky Honda dealers. Visit mycincinnatihondadealer.com and by McDonald's of Greater Cincinnati. Joey Votto to lead things off against Bautista. Here in the bottom of the seventh inning, the Reds with a one-run lead. To Joey Votto. You know, the other thing that really hurts your bullpen, Chris, and I'm still convinced it might not be the primary game, but it's in the top three, is when the Reds blew that 5-run lead in the ninth inning in Milwaukee. I mean, you know, you brought up the name Jared Burton. And that was a game where, you know, the Reds are cruising right along. They've got the big lead. It was a 6-1 ball game.
Yeah, that was the Bronson Arroyo game where he went, what, 7 innings?
Yeah, gave up 1 run.
Left 6-1.
Right, and Massett came in, had a 1-2-3 eighth inning. And with a 5-run lead, Dusty wasn't going to give the ball. There's strike 3 to Votto. He wasn't going to give the ball to Cordero or Rhodes with a 5-run lead in the ninth inning. You're not going to do it.
Right.
So here comes Jared Burton. And the next thing you know, after an out, you get an error, you get a hit to knock in a run, you get a walk, and now all of a sudden Rhodes and Cordero are scrambling around to get loose. You got 1 run in, you got 2 guys on. Here comes Rhodes. He gives up an infield hit on a ball off his glove. You get a walk. Here comes Cordero, and the next thing you know, you've blown through 4 pitchers in 2 innings, and now you got to go extra innings. After that, they had to use Fisher for 2 innings, 2 innings from Herrera, before they finally won that game 8-6 in 13 innings, rather than using 3 guys to win a game in 9. Oh, and 1 to Phillips. And there's that fine line, as you brought up earlier. I mean, here we are. The Reds aren't going to the playoffs, but this team wants to win games. You can understand that.
Well, there are always players on a pitching staff that, if you look at the games in which they appear, and there's easy stats to find on the internet, that they will appear in the majority of games in which the team is winning. And other pitchers, most of their appearances will be in games in which you're losing. That's just kind of the way it's always been. You'd love to have a bullpen, maybe like Joe Torre has, where every guy you bring out there is throwing 95 or above, and it really doesn't matter who you run up. But it doesn't always work like that. But there are some guys down there that, you wonder why they haven't been warmed up. Micah Owings. I mean, he was good enough to be your 5th starter for quite a while.
2 away in the inning against Bautista.
Now, we talked earlier about the new helmet. The Major League Baseball is, well, they're sending this to 6 helmets to every team in the major leagues. This helmet will be mandatory in the minor leagues in 2010, not in the major leagues. David Wright's wearing one upon his return. I can tell you that, after being beamed in the head and going on the disabled list with a concussion. He's coming back to wear that Rawlings S100 helmet, which the Rawlings people say that it is made of polypropylene and will withstand a fastball up to 100 miles an hour.
I would imagine that's a kind of helmet that skiers wear, the downhill skiers in the Olympics, wouldn't you?
I don't know. I know the remark that Ryan Dempster had about that helmet. He wore it. He said it felt like it was his own bobblehead day. But boy, have helmets come a long way. I mean, can you remember back in the day when Pete Rose used to wear one? First of all, for a long time, they never wore helmets. Then when they did, they were little inserts inside your baseball cap, thin little plastic inserts. I know that my first couple of years in Knott Hall, we had those folded 3, almost like a wrestling garb, where you kind of, all to do was cover your ears and the back of your head, and then you could fold it up and put it in your pocket. But now, with the way the guys are throwing so hard and the injuries that have been sustained, there's no reason why you shouldn't go up there protected.
2-1 to Rowland. And like anything new, you're going to get some guys that'll say, it doesn't feel right, and this and that. I'm sure it was the same when, every new generation of helmet came around. But the folks at Rawlings, I mean, they're going to do a great job in getting it right.
Well, there was a lot of complaining from the base coaches when they were forced to wear helmets, starting a couple of years ago.
Base hit into left field by Rowland, a 2-out single.
Or he raised his batting average up after coming off the disabled list, straddling the Mendoza line. He's up over 275 right now with another base hit.
Kevin Barker now going to come off the disabled list, and he will bat for Nick Massett. Massett, a perfect inning and a third with a couple of strikeouts. Down the left field line, that's a fair ball into the corner. On his way to third and being held up is Rowland. Barker can swing that bat a little bit.
Well, that's why he's up here. A career minor leaguer. He gets his first double of the year, and that's 2 hits back to back, I think, for Barker in pinch hit appearances. Taking that ball, a heater of a fast type, mid-90s, going the other way with it. Scott Rowland booking it around, and he's going to be held up by Mark Berry at third base. He would have been a dead duck at home. Pirates got that ball back quickly.
Another nice young man.
Oh, wonderful guy.
Yeah.
With all the great guys, I mean, this just sounds like it's a corny thing to say, but it seemed like every kid that Reds bring up from AAA is a great young man.
No doubt.
And every kid that comes up or veteran that goes down and makes a rehab appearance talks about how great everybody is down at that AAA level. And what a great team that Rick Sweet has. What a wonderful atmosphere it is. And that's why they're winning, because it's a team of guys that care about each other, they care about the game, and they're having fun playing it. And that makes a difference.
Darnell McDonald, a chance to knock in another run or two. He's had a couple of chances tonight. He had runners at second and third and struck out in the first inning. He doubled in the third and then struck out with runners on the corners in the fifth.
Now, that was a cross-up right there. Bautista threw exactly what Doman was not expecting. Remember, the man on second base, you go through a different sign. Doman's looking for a breaking ball. That is a fastball. That could have been dangerous.
And the home plate umpire Rick Reed has already been drilled tonight. Nice play there by Doman. Again on a pitch in the dirt. 2 balls and a strike to Darnell McDonald. After the game here on Wednesday, Reds making a long road trip. 3 cities. Starting in Atlanta, on to Denver, and wrapping up in Chicago. 2-1 to McDonald. And it's up and in. They'll be walking right in to the playoff race, with Atlanta and Colorado very much in that wild card hunt. In fact, Atlanta's come back against Josh Johnson and taken a 5-1 lead. That game now in the bottom of the 9th inning in Florida, with a win there, and Atlanta's 3 back in the wild card. 3-2 to Darnell McDonald. Well, McDonald swung at ball 4, but able to get a piece of it. We'll do it again at 3-2. McDonald going on strikes, and that'll end the inning. 2 hits, 2 left. We go to the 8th. Reds still leading 4-3. every year.
Better believe it.
For many to live that dream in Reds Fantasy Camp, you'll have a chance in the Reds' inaugural year in Goodyear, Arizona. Brand new state-of-the-art facility, January 30th through February the 6th, 2010. For more information, visit Reds.com/fantasycamp. I know you love it. Heard from Dick Williams from the Reds organization, and there you get a look at the new facility which opened for the Cleveland Indians last year. Now these are the fields where the Reds players will work out. I mean, it just looks spectacular.
Looking good.
Yep, real good. Know a lot of fans upset about that move and not going to be in Sarasota. Heck, we're all sad about it. But life will move on as the Reds will now train in Arizona for the first time in franchise history beginning next February. Here's Arthur Rhodes. Boy, it's so hard to believe, isn't it, that the deal that was eventually struck, and I mean, it really doesn't make any difference in the long run now, but the deal that was eventually struck, and now the Baltimore Orioles are going to Sarasota.
It was the same deal that the Reds would have accepted.
I mean, it's just,
had they just done it on time.
Swing and a miss.
That's politics for you.
But no doubt. But I mean, here you had an organization in the Reds that they were going to spend their own money to stay. I mean, they weren't asking for every handout known to man. What they offer up? $15 million of their own money?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the final deal was that Baltimore struck, but it was right in line with what the Reds had asked the Sarasota for.
2-2 to Garrett Jones. We saw Arthur Rhodes in the first game of this doubleheader. And Jones gone swinging for out number one. Look at the Reds locker room. But now, Chris, this looks a little bit different than Sarasota.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And that's a major league clubhouse right there. I mean, that looks like the clubhouse in Turner Field, actually.
I mean, that is nice. Wow, can you believe that is a spring training facility? Huh. Look at that. Training room. It's going to be nice.
Looks like your suite over at the Phoenician.
Oh yeah, sure it does. If they just let me stay at the ballpark,
you know what? I was thinking the
same
thing. Sleeping bag and a cot.
Right. Be fine. Jump in the jacuzzi just before bed on a cool February night in Arizona. Doesn't sound bad.
Practice your chipping on some of the backfields.
Swinging a foul ball back to the screen. Well, you certainly have to admire guys like Massett, Herrera, Fisher, Rhodes, Cordero. I mean, whenever the phone rings, they are ready to come in and pitch for this Reds team. Fly ball to right, and they're 2 away in the inning. I mean, you're looking at a guy, Arthur Rhodes, knocking on the door of 40 years old. 40.
Well, they know that when they sign him, and they know what his limitations are, but I think he has exceeded expectations, and he's expanded his limitations as far as the amount of time that he's going to come into a ball game. .55 games so far for Arthur Rhodes. He appeared in 61 last year total between Seattle and Florida. But since Nick Massett came in to finish off the 6th inning, Reds relievers have not allowed a base runner.
1-0 to Pierce. And that's in the air. Left field sinking liner caught by Darnell McDonald, and Rhodes with a perfect game. Reds bat in the bottom of the inning, still clinging to that 4-3 lead. Our John Morrell hot dog play of the game. Ground ball, great play by Giannis. He's been making those look almost routine. He has been spectacular defensively. Dusty Baker made a comment, in fact, the other day. He thinks not only will Giannis win a Gold Glove, but he thinks he win multiple Gold Gloves.
Well, that means if he's going to win a Gold Glove or multiple Gold Gloves, he has to play every day. So we read in between the lines there?
Good question.
Very nice.
Now, in between innings, as Jesse Chavez takes over on the mound of a 4-3 game, we've been asking the question about Corky Miller and who most looks like him. We threw it out as a text poll question, but we'll leave it to our producer, Doug Johnson, as you see the final numbers. The guy you thought it was, Jack Black, 50%. I thought Josh Brolin, but I kept saying in my head, there's somebody else. And I couldn't remember. I said an old Western or a Western movie in recent years. And then Doug says, Kurt Russell.
Yep.
That's the guy I was thinking. What was the name of that movie? Great movie. Val Kilmer was Doc Holliday.
Oh, yeah, I remember the movie.
Black something, was that it? Tombstone. Big league movie. Big league.
Good, but not as good as used cars.
2-1 to count. Whoa. Look out. And thankfully, nobody hit with that bat that comes flying out of the hands of Corky Miller. That gentleman got the bat. It may have skipped up the aisle.
Well, the first thing the usher is going to do is to ask everybody in the area, is everybody okay?
Yeah.
Fortunately, it did not hit anybody solidly.
Thankfully, everybody's all right. Saw Chavez in game 1 of this doubleheader. Went 2/3 of an inning, allowed a couple of hits, and of course he was on the mound when he threw the wild pitch when the Reds won the game in the bottom of the 9th inning. That gentleman okay, and they want to just make sure. They've gotten a piece of somebody down there.
You know what they're doing? They take that up to customer service and they'll leave the bat there until after the ball game because they don't want to have a fan running around the stands with a bat in his hand. So that's the normal procedure, at least is the way I understood it. Where was it they had bat day that turned bad? Is that in Detroit? Cleveland?
Something like that. They had disco night in Chicago.
Well, it was never a worse one than that.
Drilled to straightaway center field. And Valentine has one bounce up and over the wall. That'll be a ground rule double.
He came in to pitch hit in the 6th inning. He walked and then drills this line drive to dead center field. Picks the pocket of Andrew McCutchen, who likes to play a shallow center field, but nobody's catching that one. That one hops and goes out of here.
I don't know what's going on down here, but they brought out the trainer and they brought out manager John Russell to look at the pitching hand, finger of Chavez.
That's his pinky finger.
Yeah.
You don't have. There's also blood on his thumb. If you see his thumb right there, he's got blood on his thumb. And this is what happens sometimes when you pitch, is that you'll throw the ball and your thumb will come by, and if you have a fingernail at all on your thumbnail, it'll clip one of your other fingers. And I can't say it's common, but it's happened to just a lot of pitchers, including me, in the past. So what he's done is he's cut himself with his thumbnail, and they're tending to the injury on his pinky finger.
You ever do that with a microphone now? You know, when you're holding the mic and you're going to hand it off to Jesse Jackson after we've done the open, and you know, as the thumb is coming off the pinky.
No, but I've strained my rotator cuff a couple of times when I've reached to put the sunscreen down here before our open.
You know, they invented these things called a pulley.
Yeah, when are we going to get one over here?
That's a very good question.
Well, he looks like he's going to be all right.
All right, now Drew Stubbs, runner at second. Reds could use another run out there. Leading 4-3 here in the bottom of the 8th inning. Cordero is ready for the 9th. You know, you keep saying seemingly day after day after day, and I know it's getting to a point where we're belaboring the point, but I mean, there comes a point in time where you keep hearing, you know, boy, I sure hope we can stay away from these two guys today or those two guys tomorrow. And seemingly without fail, you're involved in a tie game or a one-run game, one-run lead in the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th innings almost daily. That ball blasted into deep right center field, and that ball is gone. A 2-run home run the other way by Drew Stubbs. And there's a little extra breathing room. That 1-run lead now at 3.
Well, he's hit the ball hard all night long, Drew Stubbs has. There's one time he did not as he struck out in the 6th inning, but he got a base hit to start the game off for the Reds in the bottom of the 1st. Hit a hard ground ball to shortstop for an out, hit a bullet to the 3rd baseman, but none as hard as this opposite field home run. Man, he just went out there and stayed back on it. Kid is beginning to adjust a little bit to big league pitching. Man, oh man, that's some kind of power we have not seen out of too many Reds leadoff hitters over the last couple of years.
Two and one to Paul Yanish.
I'll tell you what, these clubs right now are playing to stay out of last place. There's no denying that. But what should make you excited if you're a Reds fan is seeing Drew Stubbs play and seeing Paul Yanish play a shortstop and seeing the possible reemergence of Johnny Cueto coming back and throwing the ball well, and the way that Homer Bailey has thrown the ball the last couple of times. That and the fact that you've got solid contributors like Roland and Phillips and Votto. You got hope.
And an excellent young bullpen.
Absolutely.
I mean, really, that is the strength of this team.
And it has been all year.
From start to now.
And you know, reason why is because they've stayed away from the injuries for the most part. That's the one part of this ball club that has, not been a mass unit.
Yeah, the only guy that I can think of off the top of my head that was a part of your bullpen is Mike Lincoln.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, he's going to start throwing tomorrow. Still been here working out with the team, and see him every time the club is at home. Stays back here and continues to work out when they're on the road. 3-2 on Yanish. Foul away. 4. Been a good night for Giannis. He did not start the first game, but that's the third time he's been on base here in the nightcap. Well, here comes John Russell, and that's going to do it for Jesse Chavez. Boy, he had a rough doubleheader. Losing pitcher in game 1, gives up a 2. For the rest of the year, students can buy half-price tickets for select seating sections at Reds home games. Purchase student tickets at the ballpark ticket windows or at reds.com/students. So we'll look forward to seeing lots of students out here over the final month of the year, and of course the final month. Well, actually this year that's not the case. The regular season bleeds into the month of October this year, as Steven Jackson now comes on for the 27th time. See the 18 walks in 30 2/3 innings. Joey Votto looking for his first hit in the doubleheader, and he started both games. 0 for 4 in the opener, 0 for 4 in this one. I don't know if I've ever seen a team in my life pay more attention to guys who don't have the reputation to run than we have seen from the Pirates in 2 games today.
Well, if you're paying attention to Ryan Doman at the plate and the signs that he's giving, he's getting that sign from the dugout. He gives a little bit of a thumb to first base. That indicates throw it on over there. I think it was the Dodgers, the first team that I remember that really took the control of the running game away from the pitcher and the catcher, and they put it in the bench. I want to say it was Joey Amalfitano, who was the bench coach at that time with Tommy Lasorda, that decided that's the way they do it. He wants a change up here.
Back to the mound. There's one, and the tag is made. That's a nice play down there by Steve Pearce, but a 2-run home run in the inning by Drew Stubbs. Top of the ninth coming up. Reds lead by 3. Ray Hamilton Company, Cincinnati's office movers, keeping businesses on the move. All right. After the big 2-run home run by Drew Stubbs in the bottom of the 8th inning, the Reds' lead is 3. As we've arrived in the top of the 9th and on to try and nail it down, 28 out of 30 in save chances is Francisco Cordero.
Yeah, he's been out there 5 of the last 6 days. Cordero has came in to yesterday's ball game, ended up getting the loss, giving up a run in extra innings. Walked 2 in that ball game, and when Cordero goes bad, it's usually missing the strike zone.
Well, I was guilty the other night, Chris, and you were just telling me that you were too. But boy, I was guilty the other night when he came in that game and I thought he had actually picked up a save in the 4-2 win over the Dodgers here on Friday night. You know, you're thinking 3-run lead, closer coming in to get the final outs in the inning. As that didn't take any time at all. Brandon Moss gone on strikes.
Completely overpowered by 3 fastballs in a row. Cordero not messing around. Yesterday when he came into that ball game pitched inning, he threw 33 pitches. Had the day off Saturday, but Friday he threw 29. Thursday he threw 28. Wednesday he threw 14.
Well, he pitched in every game of that Milwaukee series.
Yep.
All 3 games. He blew the save chance in the 5-run 9th inning in the opener and nailed down the save in the next 2 games in the air short right center field. And that is Ballantine, and the Pirates are down to their final out. They're going to send up Lastings Millage as a pinch hitter. Well, I'll tell you one thing. You'd never know it watching Nick Massett, Arthur Rhodes, and Francisco Cordero. If they're tired, we have not seen it in game 2 of this doubleheader tonight.
Well, they haven't begged out either, or else they would not have been warmed up and in there. These guys are gamers.
Strike 1 to Lastings Millage. The last time the Reds swept a doubleheader, got to go back to 1999 on June the 5th in Kansas City, which was the first doubleheader in interleague history. Reds hadn't won the first game 9-4, won the second game in 10 innings 7-4. Lined into center field, it'll fall in a hit. The last time the Reds swept a doubleheader from the Pirates, you got to go all the way back to 1976 in the heyday of Cincinnati's Big Red Machine. Cordero not going to fool around much here, trying to get through this 9th inning, get a save, and get out of here with as few a number of pitches as possible. Good return tonight for Johnny Cueto. 5+ innings, 3 hits and a run. He's in line for the win, and this looks like it'll do it. Rolling in foul ground, and the Reds have swept a doubleheader over the Pittsburgh Pirates. 4-3 in game 1. 6-3 in game 2. How about that?